And welcome into episode 1 of Bleed Purple Nation. This is a new podcast that's really built for Tarleton fans, made for Tarleton fans. I want to welcome you in and thank you for watching and encourage you to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. We're also going to set up a Twitter account, Facebook channel, but right now broadcasting on YouTube. This is episode 1 of Bleed Purple Nation. My name is Casey Hogan, and this was a new concept just to introduce what is Bleed Purple Nation, why a podcast. I think first things first, this podcast is not affiliated with Tarleton in any way. It's not affiliated with the athletic department or the university. This is really just me as a Tarleton fan and a Tarleton alumnus. I love watching Tarleton sports. I try to go to as many games as I can in person. I live in Argyle, just south of Denton, but obviously can't get to all the games, so try to watch on ESPN Plus, or we've been blessed to have 2 out of the 4 Tarleton football games on national TV this season. And I was thinking a couple weeks ago, I said it would be really cool if we had some type of video podcast or YouTube channel or content for Tarleton fans, Tarleton sports fans, Tarleton alumnus. The athletic department does a great job promoting our athletic teams. The university does a great job promoting the university and putting out great content, but I didn't really find a podcast or any video series or a channel on YouTube dedicated for Tarleton sports fans, Tarleton supporters, folks that want a little bit more content. And so I thought, hey, why not start a video podcast? Now this, just to be transparent, I'm not doing this to make money. I'm not an investigative reporter. If you're looking for someone that's going to do investigative type reporting or real journalism, that is not me. This channel and this podcast is really just going to be all about talking about the great things that are happening within our athletic teams at Tarleton. And there will be times where we get outside of athletics. We might do a podcast on homecoming week where we talk with someone that is involved with homecoming, and we can talk about the schedule, or we might get someone on that knows something about Tarleton history. If there's someone that was involved in a cool moment on homecoming week in Tarleton history, whether that's, yell contest, the bonfire, whatever it may be, we might do a podcast on that. If there's breaking news at the university, something non-athletic related that's really positive and good for the university, we'll cover that. So primarily we're going to talk Tarleton athletics, but there will be times where we might do some segments outside of athletics when there's not as many games going on. And even during the season, I'd like to start a series called Tarleton Legends, where we get Tarleton Athletic Hall of Fame members and former Tarleton student athletes, and even outside of athletics, maybe a famous or a Tarleton alumnus that has gone out and done prominent things in their career. So looking forward to having these shows where every once in a while we do a Tarleton Legends show. So look forward to that. Right now I'm going to try to get a new podcast each week here on Bleed Purple Nation out weekly. So my commitment is to try to do this once a week. I have 4-year-old twins. Like many of you, there's a lot of commitments we have in life between our jobs, and I have kids. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge time-wise, but my commitment is to do 1 video per week and publish it on YouTube. I'm hoping eventually we'll get this on Spotify and iTunes, and I am decent with technology, but I got a lot of work to do. So bear with us here. We'll continue to get the quality of this better, continue to build this podcast, and if people like it, and we have a lot of people that subscribe, and there's people that want to hear about upcoming Tarleton games, big football games, they want to have special guests on, I'm hoping on each episode to have a co-host or a special guest. So I've invited and hoping to have on the voice of Tarleton football, a good friend of mine, Byron Anderson, as our first guest. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll have Byron on soon. But the goal each week is to have a co-host, have someone that maybe he's a former student athlete and can come on and talk to us about a great memory in Tarleton history, and then also have some special guests on. So as we build this podcast out, the more subscribers we have, folks, please subscribe, because the more subscribers we have, the better guests we'll get, just to be transparent. Eventually to get some head coaches on the podcast if they have time, but we're going to have a lot of subscribers and really build this thing out to make the case to have those type of guests on the podcast. So please subscribe. Please reach out to me. You can send me a message here on YouTube or send a comment, or my email address is my first name, last name, Casey Hogan 2004 @gmail.com. If you have an idea for a future episode, or if you want to be a special guest, any feedback, I'd love to hear it as we continue to build this. Just a little bit about me. Again, my name's Casey Hogan. This is the Bleed Purple Nation podcast, episode 1. I am a 2-time Tarleton graduate, so Tarleton has taken a lot of my money and was proud to do it. I love Tarleton. I actually worked at the university for 9 years, a couple different stints, and my junior year as an undergrad, I served as student body president at Tarleton, and I always wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I'd done some broadcasting, and again, coming up in my experience in FFA, and had done some work at KSTV in Stephenville. And my junior year, I had the opportunity to be a sideline reporter on the Tarleton Athletic Radio Network. This is back in, 2006. And then I did Tarleton women's basketball play-by-play that first year, and then the next year I was the voice of Tarleton athletics and was the play-by-play voice for Tarleton football and men's basketball, and then was in that role a couple different stints for 6 or 7 years, and worked in the athletic department as a fundraiser and revenue generator and sponsorship sales, ticketing, you name it. So again, I'm not affiliated with the athletic department now. This podcast is not affiliated with the university, but this is going to be a podcast where we're really going to talk about all the great things that are happening at Tarleton and really try to keep you updated on big Tarleton games that are upcoming. This week we're going to talk a little bit about Tarleton's huge 56-10 win over a pretty good, at worst, an average FCS team in Central Arkansas. A huge win for Tarleton football. They're now 4-0 in the season. We'll preview Chattanooga, which is the family weekend game this Saturday. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff. We'll look a little bit at Chattanooga's schedule and their record and preview that game. Usually we'll have a guest on to help us do this first week. I'm kicking it off and just wanted to get something out there and get it started. And then I'm also going to talk to you a little bit. I was blessed to go to the EECU Event Center on Saturday for the first concert to ever be hosted in that beautiful new, I believe, $10 million facility. It was either $110 or $130 million. So later in the show, I'm going to walk you through my experience going to the Koe Wetzel concert this past Saturday night at the EECU Center. And boy, that is an unbelievable arena and facility. It's going to be great for concerts, special events. They've already had a big comedian from Netflix come, and Koe Wetzel, so they really are kicking it off with some big names, and it was a great experience. I'm going to talk a little bit later about my experience at the EECU Center for the Koe Wetzel concert. Former Tarleton football player, Koe Wetzel. I think he played for a semester, but I remember when came back to Tarleton in 2012 to work in the athletic department. I was the play-by-play voice for Tarleton football. Then head coach Kerry Fowler used to always tell me, Casey, I had a guy on the roster last year who's no longer playing. He wanted to go full-time into being a musician, and he's really talented. I think he's going to be big one day. His name's Koe Wetzel, and at the time, we were happy for him, proud, but boy, I don't think anybody could envision the success that he's had. So former Tarleton football player, former Tarleton student, Koe Wetzel was at the EECU Center. Beautiful facility. It's unbelievable. So we'll talk about that shortly. So that's really what we're going to do this week. Look at the Central Arkansas win. We will preview the Chattanooga family weekend game for head coach Todd Whitten's team. We'll talk a little bit about my experience at the EECU Center. And so, again, what can you expect from this podcast? We're going to try to have a weekly show with special guests, Tarleton Legends shows, where we'll bring former Tarleton student athletes and Tarleton legends on the shows, co-host weekly. Hoping, again, Byron Anderson will join us shortly to be our first guest. Some non-athletic related stuff, but again, if you're looking for, investigative journalism, if a Tarleton sports team loses 15 games in a row, we're going to talk about that. And if we think changes might need to be made in the program. But for the most part, this is really a video podcast to talk about all the great things happening, keep you updated on Tarleton Sports, talk Tarleton Sports, have fun guests on, and hopefully you enjoy this. And if you enjoy it, and we have a lot of subscribers, we'll keep doing it. We'll get better equipment. We'll pump out more shows. We'll have better guests the more subscribers we have. If it doesn't go well, it's this is a supply and demand, and if people don't like it, then we'll find something else to do. There's lots of other stuff to do. I still broadcast games here in the Metroplex. I've been doing Flower Mound football, play-by-play on Champion Sports, and Dave Campbell's Texan Live, and Last year I had the honor to serve as the play-by-play voice for Texas women's basketball. One time they were number one in the nation in D2, and then I've been doing public address announcing for North Texas softball. So still pretty busy, but my passion, I love Tarleton Sports, and this podcast will really not be based on my former experience working and being a broadcaster at Tarleton. This is going to be my fan hat, where this is going to be all about a podcast made for Tarleton fans by Tarleton fans. When I was a student at Tarleton, before I started broadcasting, traveled to Springfield, Massachusetts to go to the Elite Eight in 2005 for men's basketball. Or was it 6? Yeah, it was 2005, yeah. In 2004, I remember going to the NCAA South Central Regional Men's Basketball Championship game at Texas A&M Commerce, who hosted in Tarleton. Heck of a game. We beat Commerce to win our first regional championship, make our first trip to the Elite Eight under legendary head coach Lon Reisman. That next year, before the Elite Eight in Springfield in 2005, I remember going on spring break week. A group of us drove to Bolivar, Missouri. I believe it was Southwest Baptist, a Division II school, hosted the first 3 rounds of the NCAA tournament that year. And probably the best game I ever saw in my life was the South Central Regional Championship game. I don't have my notes in front of me. In 2005, we played Northwest Missouri. They hit a 3-pointer with about 8 seconds left to take a 1-point lead, and that gym in Bolivar, Missouri was packed. Northwest Missouri is one of the premier Division II programs in the country back then, and of course now, and they had at least 1,000 people in that gym. In Bolivar, Missouri, it was like 9-10 hours from Stephenville. We had maybe 50 to 75 people, and they go up 1 with 8 seconds left, and then we take it down, and I can't remember if LaShawn Sheffield missed a 3. Derek Atwood, I remember, tipped it in at the buzzer, and we won to go to back-to-back Elite Eights and win back-to-back South Central Regional Championship. I am able to, when I broadcast Tarleton games, I put on a broadcaster hat and try to be a professional broadcaster, not a Tarleton fan, but if you ever see me at a game when it's just Casey, the Tarleton alumnus and Tarleton fan, I'm totally different. I am very emotional. I'm very dramatic. My wife says you're nuts because, if we go down 7-0 in first quarter of a football game, the world is ending. We're horrible. We're not going to make the FCS playoffs. And then 20 minutes later, we're going to win the national championship because we scored 3 straight. So like many of you, I'm a very passionate Tarleton fan, and that's why I've started this. So a lot of great memories, and hopefully you get something out of this and you enjoy it. And if you do, let me know. If you don't enjoy the podcast, then don't let me know. And I'm just kidding. If you have a suggestion and you want to make it better, please reach out. I'm still learning all this, but you can reach out on YouTube. And I said my email address earlier. Find us on social media. We do have a Bleed Purple Nation. I think it's at Bleed Purple Show is the Twitter handle. I'll leave that in the comments. So at Bleed Purple Show is the Twitter handle, and we'll share this content there. And then going to set up a Facebook profile later today for old people like me. So stay tuned for that. But do want to get into, I was pretty blessed. I was sitting around this past Saturday night, and I had ESPN Plus ready to go. I actually thought about driving to Conway, Arkansas from Argyle here. It was like a 5-hour drive. Thought about driving to watch us play at Central Arkansas. A friend of mine Matt Whiting is actually the athletic director there, and wanted to go to campus and wanted to watch Tarleton there, and decided not to go at the last minute. I am well known to make last minute decisions when it comes to Tarleton sports. Last year, when we went into South Dakota for the second round of the NCAA FCS football championships, a couple days before decided I'm going. Couldn't get anyone to go with me. I don't know why. I'm a lot of fun on road trips. A lot of fun, probably too much fun, but I went up there on my own. Stayed in Sioux City, Iowa, and then met up with some fans that I knew, some Tarleton folks, and had a great, weekend and went to that game, and what an experience that was in the second round. To make the second round of the FCS playoffs in your first year of eligibility as an FCS institution after making a 4-year transition is unheard of. And boy, we'll talk a lot about Tarleton football and not just the football program, so many great things happening across the university and athletic department. But I love to travel to Tarleton games, but I did not make it to Conway, Arkansas on Saturday. So I was sitting around at the house, and about 5 o'clock, I had mowed the lawn. I was taking a shower, and I was getting ready to turn on ESPN Plus at 6 to watch that game. And I got a text from my good friend Brady Pendleton, and he had a ticket available to go to Koe Wetzel, so I'm at the EECU Center, and I was like, man, this would be pretty awesome to go to the EECU Center for the first ever concert. And went to my wife and I said, hey, Brady's got a ticket for the Koe Wetzel concert at the EECU Center. And all of you that are married out there, I was kind of throwing it out there to see what she would say. And because we have 2 young kids, and she said, oh, it sounds fun. Well, if you want to go, go. And then I did of course, you can't just say yes. I said, babe, are you sure? Are you sure that's going to be okay if I go? And I don't want to leave you here with the kids. And she said, no, that'll be awesome. Go have fun. So it took me about 10 minutes to get some clothes on and get in the car and drive an hour and 40 minutes, got to Stephenville and went to the EECU Center. And boy, what an unbelievable facility. I had seen videos, I had seen pictures, I had seen a lot of virtual and digital stuff online, but nothing replaces the experience of going. I wish I could tell you the parking situation, but we took an Uber from downtown Stephenville to the EECU Center, and it was really easy to Uber there. We just, I told them, pull right here across from the baseball stadium. I don't know how legal that was. Pull into a parking lot and drop us off. And so they dropped us off right there at the EECU Center. The opening act had already started. I think it was Slade Coulter, and so the lines to get in, I was really impressed with the entry, and I don't know if it's egress or what the word is. I'm not smart enough to know, but the fan experience from an entry standpoint, there was a ton of metal detectors. The staff was friendly. If you wanted to have alcohol, they wristband you outside and ID you. That way you already had a wristband to speed things up inside. Tons of metal detectors. Thought it was really well done. It was so easy to get in the arena. Now, I will say we were not there when there was a mad rush of people getting in. There were people showing up, but there was already a lot of people there for the opening act, so I don't know what it would be like at peak time, but, I've been around college athletics a long time and in a ton of facilities, and to me it looked like it was meticulous and it was well thought out, and it was really easy to get in. It was beautiful. I walked around the outside, and I'll try to throw some pictures in here. I'm going to try to figure out this software, and I did take a bunch of pictures, so I'm going to see if I can put them in here. But I did see the champion. I think it was called the Champions entrance, but you could tell it was an entrance for staff and probably for coaches, and it was beautiful. You could tell that's where you would walk student-athlete recruits in when they come to the EECU Center. Had Tarleton trophies, Tarleton memorabilia, and lighted, digital bookcases or whatever you want to call it. My brain's going dead here, but just a beautiful entrance. So I looked at that, and how awesome would that be to take a recruit in that way to see all the trophies and all the Tarleton memorabilia. And it was just beautiful. It was just well done. And we got into the stadium, and when you walk in, you're on the lower level, so you're on the floor level. And I believe at basketball, you'll have to go to tarletonsports.com/tickets. I believe they are going to have a courtside club down there. So if you have courtside season tickets, there's a bar and some food and beverage options down below. This was the floor seating for the concert. And so you entered the main entrance. There was 2 large entrances open. I think we entered, I want to say, on the south, probably the southwest corner or the south side of the arena. I don't know, but it was easy to get in. And when you walk in, you're at the floor level. And then we went up to the stairs, and then you go upstairs, and then you're at the main concourse. And I thought the concourse was well designed. There was a ton of food and beverage options. There was digital boards that told you where all the concession stands and restrooms were. There were plenty of places to grab. There were standalone kiosks to get a mixed drink or a beer, wine. Ton of little kiosks all around, plus the big, large concession stands for food. There was a barbecue stand. There was Dippin' Dots. I should have got some Dippin' Dots. That sounded pretty good. Really impressed with the amount of food and drink selections. The concourse never really was that crowded. Again, I wasn't out there when there was a mass exodus. We left during the encore, so we got out of there before everyone left, but I think the concourses are wide. There's a ton of bathrooms. I mean, there was at least 3 to 4 men's bathrooms. There was 2 right behind the luxury suite I was in on the main concourse, and the bathrooms were large. There was tons of space. I mean, you can tell this thing was designed with the fan experience in mind, so I was extremely impressed, and it's really nice. The finishings, the backdrops, the lit backdrops, the Tarleton signage, I think that'll only get nicer on the inside. I mean, this thing is just barely open, so they're probably not even through their punch list and done with everything on the inside, but there was staff everywhere. Everyone was friendly. it was a great experience. I did sit in a luxury suite, so I was blessed to be able to get into a suite, and the suites are unbelievable. There's 10 luxury suites, plus the president, Dr. Hurley, has a suite, and the luxury suites are amazing. I went in a couple of them. There's definitely different size luxury suites, but, beautiful marble backdrops, Tarleton logos, marble wet bars with refrigerators. There was a staff member in there that was serving us drinks. Not that I had a drink. I would never go to a Koe Wetzel concert and have a drink, right? Those two don't go together, do they? But the service was great. There were flat screen TVs in each one of the luxury suites. They weren't working yet, which is totally expected. I mean, this thing has just opened. We wanted to put the Tarleton football game on the flat screen, but couldn't get that figured out. But they'll get all that stuff figured out. I mean, that's not a big deal at all. The luxury suites had 10 outside. Had an inside area with a couch, TV, wet bar, and then the outside area just opened up into an outside area with huge black leather bucket type seats with a Tarleton State logo on each chair. The chairs rocked back and forth. What I loved about the EECU Center is it's a large arena. I mean, we went from, it's kind of like going, no offense, I love Wisdom Gym. I have a lot of great memories in Wisdom Gym. It was a huge home court advantage, but it was time we had outgrown, and Wisdom Gym was outdated. We were putting lipstick on a pig with all the updates over there. And going from Wisdom Gym to this is like going from driving my Mazda CX-30 to a Maserati. I mean, it's top of the line. And what I loved about the EECU Center was, folks, every seat in there has a great view. It's a big arena, but it's still intimate. It's not the American Airlines Center. It's 10,000 seats for concerts with the floor seats. And when you kill the floor suites for a basketball game, it's about 8,000 seats. Sorry, I had to sit my chair here. So it was, the line of sights they designed it perfectly where no matter where you sit, you have a perfect view of the court, of the stage. Again, the fan experience is great. The luxury suites are awesome if you get a chance to sit in a luxury suite. They did have loge boxes as well. A loge box is like an outside luxury suite that's in the general seating areas, but it's kind of partitioned off with some more luxurious seats, and sometimes they'll have little small TVs in the loge suite. So there was, I don't know how many loge suites and loge boxes there were, but there was at least 5 or 6 that I counted. So there's a ton of premium seating options for basketball. I can't wait to go to a basketball game. I believe October 27th. I don't have that in front of me. I believe the homecoming game. No, it's the homecoming game the 18th. So the Sunday after the homecoming football game, ECU is coming for an exhibition in men's basketball. Going to go to that game and looking forward to watching a basketball game there. It's very fan-friendly. Kudos to the Tarleton staff, the administration, the Texas A&M system. They built an unbelievable facility. And I think kind of the takeaway is I was sitting there with Tarleton alumni and supporters. We all just kind of looked at each other and it's like, are we really in Stephenville, Texas at Tarleton? I mean, this is an experience like you're in any large metropolitan area at a professional sporting event or a professional sporting venue hosting a concert. I mean, it was unbelievable. And for them to have everything down for the first event in there, I mean, the sound, and I know they bring production teams in for concerts, so they have, it's not necessarily the same sound system you would use at a basketball game. They bring a big production crew in, but everything was flawless. The sound was great. The acoustics were great. The line of sight was great. The seating was comfortable. Ton of food and drink options. Bathrooms are important. I mean, when you're designing a facility, especially a sporting facility that's multi-purpose for concerts and graduations, a lot of times they don't put enough bathrooms in. And I thought there was a lot of bathrooms. We'll see how they hold up when it's graduation or something like that. But the bathrooms were large. It was easy to get in and out. There was like at least 2 men's bathrooms on that side of the arena that I was on, which would have been the north side. And we'll see how parking holds up. There's a lot of parking spots on campus. I mean, everybody, I know I'll probably get roasted for this, but people complain about parking. There's not enough parking for a football game or a basketball game, but they open up most of the lots on campus, especially on the weekends. And so you might have to park across campus and walk over. I mean, that's nothing compared to what you would do in a large metropolitan city. So I think there's going to be plenty of parking spots, and you can always Uber. I mean, they have Uber now in Stephenville. So great visit to the EECU Center. Cannot wait for, I believe it is October. I got the football schedule right here. I believe it is October 19th when they will have the first, Sunday, October 19th, when they will have the first basketball game, men's basketball exhibition. I believe it's at 2 or 3 o'clock. So you can come to homecoming, get down there on a Friday, go to Bonfire, go to all the activities. Go to the parade Saturday morning, go to the game against West Georgia, the football game at 6 o'clock. I mean, activities going on. Spend the night Saturday night and then go and watch Texas Christian University. Watch a Big 12 program come to Stephenville to play in our new $110 million arena. Is going to be awesome. So really, really looking forward to that. And we'll talk Tarleton basketball on the men and women's side as it gets closer. And I do want to provide some updates on Tarleton volleyball. Not going to do that today. There's not a whole lot of time, but I know Tarleton volleyball played at Stephen F. Austin last night and lost in 3 sets, and they're now 4-4 on the season with a new first-year head coach. So not a bad start with a first-year head coach to be off to a 4-4 start, but we'll definitely have some volleyball coverage here on the Bleed Purple Nation podcast. So let's get into Tarleton football. Wow. What a start. I mean, what Todd Whitten and his staff have done. I want to mention his staff. I mean, there's so many. We give a lot of credit to the head coach, and the buck does stop at his or her desk. But, I mean, Coach Whitten has an army. And I think I read the other day that I can't remember where this is, so I don't like to just throw things out if I don't have a factual source. But I thought I read somewhere that our football budget is now $8.5 million. Just to put that in perspective, that's about what our budget was in the Lone Star Conference in NCAA Division II for the entire athletic department. And kudos to the administration and Dr. Hurley and the A&M system and the athletic department under Steve Ursay, the new athletic director, for giving Coach Whitten and his team those resources. If you want to compete and be the big boys in FCS, you need an $8.5 million football budget. And I think that's now like 3rd or 4th biggest in the country. And I mean, look at what our football program has done. I wish I would have pulled the numbers up. Abilene Christian, when they transitioned from the Lone Star Conference in 2012, 2013 to the Southland, they struggled for 4 years in the transition and a couple years out of the transition. It is tough. Most teams really struggle during a 4-year transition. I know the first couple of years of this transition and there were some games where we struggled. We lost to East Central at home. And that's going to happen. I mean, it's tough to keep student athletes motivated for 4 years during a transition when they know they can't compete for any postseason championships. Think about how hard it is as a coach to keep student athletes at a university when they know for 4 years they can't go to the playoffs. And the last couple of years of the transition, Tarleton football was outstanding. And really, I mean, what they did during that 4-year transition was unheard of. I mean, there's only been 1 or 2 schools ever make a transition like Tarleton has. I think it comes down to the resources, having the right people in place. Todd Whitten has been an FCS head coach before at Sam Houston State. He knows what he did wrong, what he did right at Sam Houston. He knows FCS football. He's a great coach, and look what this program is doing. 10-4 last year, 2nd round of the FCS playoffs. Now, Tarleton is 4-0 on the season and the number 3 ranked team in the nation. As we look at the AFCA FCS Coaches Bowl, you got North Dakota State. No surprise, they're number 1 in the nation. 25 first place votes at number 1. South Dakota State, I believe they won the national championship last year. They're number 2. They got 1 first place vote. And then Tarleton with 601 total votes, no first place votes, but Tarleton number 3 in the nation for the 2nd consecutive week. Unbelievable for a 2nd-year team in FCS to be number 3 in the nation. And not just number 3 in the nation, but Tarleton is smoking people. They are dominating. I mean, they beat Army, who won an FBS bowl game last year. And we go to Army's 2nd game of the season and win on a field goal in double overtime. What does Army then do? They go to Kansas State and win the next week. I mean, this Tarleton football team, folks, is for real. I don't like to say that this early in the season, but I mean, there's no doubt this is a very, very talented team. By the way, Abilene Christian is 1-2. They've had, I think, a couple tough FBS opponents, but they're 15th in the nation. Austin P, another team in UAC, is number 20 in the nation at 2-1. Lamar is getting 43 votes out of the Southland Conference. So you've got, 3 UAC teams that are ranked this week in Tarleton. Abilene Christian and Austin P going to be a tough conference, but Tarleton number 3 in the nation. I had a chance to visit with Coach Witten before the season started. I love Coach Witten. Just to be transparent, I think he's a great man, a great coach. I mean, there's no doubt. Look at what he's doing, which is unheard of. Coaches are not usually, I've worked around a lot of coaches in athletics, they're not usually that confident, even when their teams are really good. I mean, I remember I would ask Coach Reisman before a basketball season, we're like 8th in the nation and went to the Elite 8 the year. Hey, are we going to be good this year? And he would say, no, Casey, we are terrible. We are absolutely terrible. We'll be lucky to win 4 or 5 games. We're not very good. And then the team would go and rattle off 25 wins and make the NCAA tournament. Coaches are usually, they don't like to talk about their team before the season because you don't want the student athletes to hear that and think that you're good when you hadn't even played a game. Coach Witten was pretty confident before the season that this roster had a lot of talent. I mean, I think there's 37 or 43 seniors, and boy, what have they done? They come out of the gate 4-0 on the season, just defeated Central Arkansas, which a lot of folks thought, that was going to be the Tarleton's toughest opponent. I mean, let's just be honest. A couple of those FCS teams we played, Portland State's not very good, and Mississippi Valley State certainly is not. No knock on those programs. I'm not trying to be nasty, but they're just not very good FCS opponents. But you beat Army in West Point, which is a game-changing win on CBS Sports for this program, and then Army goes and beats Kansas State the next week. And a lot of folks, Central Arkansas was coming in. I think they were 2-1 on the season heading into that game, and they're a quality FCS opponent. And there's a lot of, just reading a lot of the predictions from, some of the vloggers and journalists that cover FCS football. A lot of people thought this could be the game where Tarleton kind of comes in and stubs their toe a little bit and has a battle, and it was the complete opposite. I mean, it was an absolute blowout right out of the gate. I mean, the first play of the game, Central Arkansas gets the ball, and defensive lineman Josh Griffiths gets a forced fumble, and then A.J. Owens takes it in on the first play of the game, recovers it in the end zone. I mean, with 14:50 left in the first quarter, Tarleton was up 7-0. And how good is it to get Josh Griffiths back? He went to Oregon State last year. He was here 2 years ago. And, one thing I'm going to talk to Byron Anderson about when he gets on, and if we get a chance to talk to others, is our skill position players. When we played at South Dakota last year in the second round, we had better skill position players. I mean, Darius Cooper was unbelievable in that game. But where we struggled in the second half, we were up at halftime, but we started wearing down in the trenches and on the line. We did not have the size that South Dakota had, and there's no surprise there. Your first year of eligibility in FCS football, you're not going to be as big in the trenches probably as South Dakota or South Dakota State or North Dakota State. Those schools typically dominate. And Coach Witten knew that. So, Coach Witten knew that that's where they had to improve. And, boy, getting Josh Griffiths back was absolutely huge. He was at Oregon State last year, and he comes out, and, folks, he gets a fumble on the first play of the game. A.J. Owens recovers it. After the first quarter, Tarleton was up 21-0. 21-0. After the first play of the game. Sorry, I hope these notifications aren't coming in. I'm getting a bunch of little pings on my computer, so I hope you're not hearing that. Tarleton defense was outstanding under Tyrone Nix, the defensive coordinator. They had 2 takeaways in this game, 6 sacks. They had 11 negative plays. And how about this stat? The Tarleton defense has allowed 1 touchdown against 3 FCS opponents this year. I mean, that is unbelievable to only allow 1 touchdown in 3 games. And so that defensively, Tarleton was awesome. Running back Caleb Lewis had a career-high 3 rushing touchdowns. How about Victor Gabalis? I mean, he's been unbelievable now, for 3 years at Tarleton. A great player, but he just keeps getting better. I mean, he got better last year. I mean, when he first started playing, I was talking to buddies of mine and fans, and they were, I don't know about this Gabalis guy. He's inconsistent, but he's extremely talented, and Coach Witten knows how to find quarterbacks and develop. I mean, he was a quarterback at Stephen F. Austin, and at least Coach Witten went to the NFL and did a training camp with the Patriots. I mean, he's played professionally as a quarterback. He's in the Hall of Fame at Stephen F. Austin, so Coach Witten knows quarterbacks, and Gabalis has just gotten better and better. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation now in FCS football, and he's 60 of 97 this year for 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, 166 passer rating. That was cool. My AirPod fell out. Gabalis has been out, and he hasn't had to do a lot. I mean, Tarleton, frankly, has just blown people away. I mean, when you're up 42 to, what were they up at the half, folks? 42-7 at the half. You don't need to throw the ball in the second half. You don't want to you want to put some backups in. You don't want Victor Gabales or Caleb Lewis or any of these guys to get hurt. And Dawson Hearn, the tight end, we'll talk about him. So he hasn't had to do a lot. That's why he's only thrown, 776 passing yards in 4 games is less than 200 yards a game. But he hasn't had to throw it because they've been blowing out opponents. So Victor Gabales has been such a great quarterback, could be an All-American this year, and one of the great quarterbacks in FCS football. And how about tight end Dawson Hearn? So for those of you that don't know, Dawson Hearn is the grandson of Tarleton Athletic Hall of Fame member and legendary former women's basketball coach at Tarleton, Ronnie Hearn. Coach Hearn himself, I remember broadcasting a women's basketball game my first year to do Tarleton games on the radio in 2006. I was calling Abilene Christian in Tarleton, a Lone Star Conference women's game, and I went up in the rafters of I forget the name of the arena at Abilene Christian. I know it, but anyways, I went to the basketball arena and I looked up in their Hall of Fame and I saw, they have a display for Ronnie Hearn at Abilene Christian's basketball arena. He was that good. He was like a 2 or 3 time first team All-American, one of the leading scorers in Abilene Christian men's basketball history. Coach Hearn is an unbelievable athlete and a great man. And just think a lot of Coach Hearn, and Dawson is his grandson. So we know that they have some good genes in that family, right, when it comes to athletics. And boy, Dawson Hearn had 2 receiving touchdowns in this game. And I love, Tarleton's running that mesh offense. I know some people don't like it, where they just kind of, it's almost like an RPO, but they hold it there, and Gabales kind of reads what's happening, and they kind of scares people because they kind of sit there sometimes in the backfield. You got to have a good offensive line, but it's working. This offense they've scored over 50 points in 2+ games, and I love how they're starting to use the tight end more. Coach Witten's teams, back in the 2000s when he was at Tarleton, Kyle Masters was an All-American tight end. he really used more of a traditional offense and used the tight end, and I love how they've got Dawson Hearn and they're getting the tight end involved. And I just love, I'm old-fashioned. I love a big tight end that can catch the ball and stretch out the defense. And Dawson Hearn, 5 receiving touchdowns this year, folks. I believe that's the most in all of college football for a tight end at any level. He had 2 receiving touchdowns in this game, and Dawson's becoming a huge weapon for this offense. Defensively, we talked about what Coach Nix's squad did. Angelo Anderson, the senior defensive lineman, had 2 sacks and a forced fumble in this game. He played 42 games at Tulane, by the way, and won the Cotton Bowl in 2023. So he's a FBS transfer. Angelo Anderson had a huge game. He had 2 sacks and a forced fumble, and he wasn't the UAC Defensive Player of the Week. Guess who was? As I go back to my notes here, Yasir Holmes, the linebacker out of Indian Head, Maryland, was the UAC Defensive Player of the Week this week for Tarleton and the entire conference. So congratulations to Yasir Holmes, his first time to win Defensive Player of the Week in the UAC. He had a team-high 3 tackles for a loss, a sack, and 7 total tackles. So not a bad day in the office. Yasir Holmes, Division II transfer out of Frostburg State. So congratulations to Yasir. Yasir, I don't know if I'm saying it right. We'll find out. Yasir or Yasir. When I broadcast the game, I always get the names down because I hate to mispronounce anyone's name. So Yasir, forgive me. Congratulations. And Angelo Anderson had a heck of a game. So Tarleton now 4-0 on the season, and they are now coming home, Tarleton Football, to host Chattanooga. It's family weekend in Stephenville. Big weekend. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. The first 1,000 fans to come into the gate at Memorial Stadium will receive a free t-shirt. That's courtesy of Triple Crown Ford. And again, I'm not affiliated with athletic department or the university. I'm getting all this from TarletonSports.com. Their team does a great job of keeping you informed. Anything you want to know is on the website. They put out great content. So make sure you follow Tarleton Sports and all of the official Tarleton Athletic social media channels. And again, the Bleed Purple Nation podcast. This is just a Tarleton fan. Casey Hogan created this, and hopefully you're enjoying it. We're going to have guests on. You will not have to hear me for an hour by myself the next few podcasts. I promise you that. But first 1,000 fans that make it into Memorial Stadium. I believe gates will probably open at 4 o'clock, so get there early to get a free t-shirt on Family Weekend, courtesy of Triple Crown Ford. And Family Weekend is just such a fun weekend. I remember as a Tarleton student of my freshman year in 2001, my mom and sister coming down for Family Weekend. And I don't want to get into what all we did that weekend on on a public YouTube channel, but we had a lot of fun. It's just so fun to have your family on campus, and Tarleton's changed so much. I mean, the campus is beautiful. There's just so many beautiful facilities. The academic programs have grown. The student body, I think the enrollment now is 22 or 23,000 record this fall. So just getting the parents back on campus, it's so much fun, and there's so much more. I mean, we had fun family weekend 24 years ago, but we didn't have nearly the amount. I mean, our events were, drinking cold beer in the parking lot of the football stadium, which there's nothing wrong with that, but there was programming back then. But now I looked at the family weekend schedule. I mean, there's stuff going on. They have a casino night at the Barry B. Thompson Student Center, and I think the Hurleys are hosting an event for the parents. I mean, there's so much going on. So family weekend, hope everybody can make it out. Chattanooga, the Mocs, I guess that's a moccasin. The Chattanooga Mocs are out of the Southern Conference. They're 1-2 overall. Their first game of the season, they went to Memphis to play an FBS opponent, in Memphis, and lost 45-10. Week 2, they went on the road to the number 17 team in the nation in FCS, Tennessee Tech, and they lost 45-17. And then last week, their first home game, they beat Stetson 63-0. So they're 1-2 on the season. Now I'm looking up the line here in Vegas and on this game. I do not bet on sports. I couldn't when I worked in athletics, and I don't want to. I'm just not very good at it, frankly. But let's look at the line in Vegas and see if they have a line on that game. I should have done that before the show, but it's always good to see what Vegas, and I think they put a line on all the FCS games. Sports handicappers are favoring Tarleton State with a negative 2.5 point spread, so they're giving Chattanooga 2.5 points. I don't know if that's correct because, I can say this because I'm not broadcasting for Tarleton. This is a podcast, but I don't think this is going to be much of a game. I think Chattanooga will be better. I know the coaches. I know Coach Witten was, before the season, excited about this game because Chattanooga last year was 7-5. They beat Austin Peay in the regular season finale, a good Austin Peay team, and they almost made the FCS playoffs. They were 5-3 in the Southern Conference. So this will be a tougher game. I mean, Stetson is not a very good FCS program. Obviously, they beat them 63-0 last week. So, Stetson is 1-2, just to put that in perspective now. Stetson actually lost to Drake by 39 last season. Drake is the team that came to Memorial Stadium in the opening round of the playoffs and I think lost by 14 to Tarleton in that first ever FCS playoff win for the Texans. So Chattanooga's going to be tougher. I think they're certainly going to be a lot tougher than Mississippi Valley State. Let's just be honest with ourselves. And then the first game of the season, Tarleton went to Portland State. That was on ESPN2. That was a national TV game, and I think they're probably going to be a little bit better than Portland State. But just to be transparent, I'm not watching film or anything like that. I think it'll be a tough game, but I think Tarleton's going to win by double digits. This team is just on a roll, and they are so good and playing at home, and all the weapons that they have. Should be a good one. A 6 o'clock kickoff. It's the first ever meeting between the Mocs and the Texans on family weekend. Make sure you buy tickets. Get out and support the team. There's so many different ways, and I'm a little biased. I mean, I love Tarleton, and I know many of you watching, you love Tarleton, and there's so many different ways that you can support the athletic department, the programs, and the universities. I mean, we can't all write a $5 million check or $1 million check or even a $100,000 check. We might be able to leave Tarleton in our will one day, and, heck, maybe I'll do that. But how can we just get involved? Well, just buying tickets helps. Just being at the games. Go to tarletonsports.com/tickets. You can get tickets right here behind me, and that, help me out, guys. Is that that would be the north end zone right there? You can get tickets in the north end zone for $20 for an adult, $12 for children. So $20 to come out to the game and support the Texans. It just helps when you're there. So make sure you get your tickets at tarletonsports.com. Get involved. Join the Texan Club. I'm a Texan Club member. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to tarletonsports.com/Texan Club or just click Texan Club at the top. Join the Texan Club. I mean, even if you can only join for under $200, I mean, get involved, join, give what you can. Every bit makes a difference. We all make a difference. And then Tarleton just started a new name, image, and likeness fund called the Light the Stack Fund. I saw Victor Gabalis put out a video on the Tarleton Athletic social media channels, kind of kicking that off a week or two ago. And so if you want to learn more about the NIL fund, it is tarletonsports.com/light the stack. That is Light the Stack. So give to the athletic department, give to the university if that's not your thing. Get involved. Every bit makes a difference. The NIL fund is so important. If we want to continue to recruit and retain the best student athletes across the country at Tarleton, which all of our programs, I mean, you look at what women's basketball is doing under Bill Brock, Mark Kumpion. The Tarleton softball program has been so good the last couple of years as my golden retrievers are whining in the background saying, "Dad, you've talked too much. Shut up." But to get these student athletes in, we have to have a competitive name, image, and likeness fund. So that Light the Stack, I know I'm going to join. I haven't yet, but I will, I promise. It's $180 a year minimum to join, $15 a month, and you get benefits for. So join the Light the Stack NIL fund, join the Texan Club, buy tickets, get involved, give to Tarleton on the academic side. Every bit makes a difference, and I'm going to try to lead. I think there's a really cool program on the Close On. Todd Witten's wife, Dana Witten, is a friend of mine, and she started a program called Suits for Seniors, and you donate $750. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get every Tarleton football player that graduates a suit to wear, so when they go out in the professional world, they have a suit. I mean, some of our student athletes come from backgrounds where they don't have the kind of resources to have a nice suit, so a donor can provide them with a suit for $750, and then I think you get invited to an event where you get to meet the student athlete and they wear the suit that you bought. It's just a cool event that Todd Witten's wife, Dana, puts on, and I'll try to drop some information on that in the chat. I know she's kind of handling that on her own. If you want to give to the Suits for Seniors program, you can hit her up on social media or reach out to me, and I'll try to connect you with her. So Suits for Seniors, just a really cool program. So, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this first edition, episode 1 of the Bleed Purple Nation podcast. Again, this is a podcast made by Tarleton fans for Tarleton fans, where we're going to talk all things Tarleton. So many great things happening at the university with our athletic teams. It's such a great time to get involved. I mean, I remember when I was on staff at Tarleton, I used to always just continue to hammer down on that. We've got to do a better job of getting our alumnus involved. We got to do a better job of using athletics as kind of that gateway, that front porch to getting people engaged on the other side of campus and back. I mean, it used to kill me when I get on social media and see someone that I went to Tarleton with that was really involved, you know, maybe in student government or a Purple Poo or a leader on campus. And then I would see them going to like an A&M game all the time. They would be posting about Texas football. No offense to them. I'm not saying you can't do that. But, man, we needed to do a better job of kind of getting our alumnus plugged in. And that's really what this move to Division I has done. It has... People are now just so excited. We're on national TV. We're on that national stage. And it's just such an exciting time to get involved, folks. So I know I'm going to 3 football games this year. I'm going to go to the homecoming game and the last 2 home games of the year. I like to go to those last 2 games of the year in November because they're usually, everything's on the line. They're huge games. I think, looking at the schedule here, I'm going to print off the schedule next. So I'm going to be a little bit better next week. Bear with me here, folks. But, you know, you look at these big games on the horizon. You've got North Alabama coming. They're now an FCS team. They used to host the Division II National Championship for 30 years in Florence, Alabama, but they're now have made the transition. And then that Austin Peay game, I mean, that November 1st game at Abilene Christian, I'm probably going to drive to that. I mean, so easy to get to Abilene, and that game is going to be huge. I mean, ACU is ranked 15th in the nation right now. Austin Peay on Saturday, November 22nd is the final regular season game, final home game of the season, and Austin Peay right now is 21st in the nation. I like to go to those games later in the season for sure because, frankly, there's just not as many people there, and we need people there. They're huge games. I don't know what it is about November, but we need to pack Memorial Stadium. So get out to a game, support the Texans. We've got basketball coming up shortly. They'll get their exhibition seasons kicked off in November for Billy Gillespie and head coach Bill Brock. And so many exciting things going on. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about the show. If you got any ideas or folks that should come on and be guests. Again, Byron Anderson will be our first guest here on the Bleed Purple Nation podcast. And we'll get special guests each week. You know, we're not affiliated with Tarleton, but we're all about Tarleton, and this is all about trying to highlight the great things. I mean, the athletic department can only do so. They are so busy, and they do so much, and they work so hard. So hopefully this is just a non-affiliated kind of channel to talk about all the great things happening at Tarleton and keep you updated on the games this past week. I'm going to try to have a podcast this next Monday, try to record it on Sunday, and we'll wrap up the Chattanooga game. We'll look forward to the Tarleton's next game after Chattanooga, which will be at No, they're home back-to-back weeks. So that'll be Saturday, October 4th is the Legends game. So back-to-back home games for the Texans. So we'll wrap up Chattanooga, take a look at Tarleton volleyball. We'll preview the football game against Southern Utah, and we'll talk all things Tarleton State University. Thanks for watching this first episode of Bleed Purple Nation. Please subscribe. We got to get the subscriber count out, or I'm going to fire myself, which I'm fine with that. But I'm hoping this succeeds, and I'm hoping we have a lot of people watching. We can build this thing out to really be the premier platform for Tarleton sports outside of what the university does on kind of a fan platform. And so please subscribe, tell your friends about it, share it on social media. Again, it's at Bleed Purple Show is the Twitter handle. I'm about to set up a Facebook account. Get involved, join the Texan Club, donate to the Like the Stack Fund, buy tickets. We hope to see everybody at Memorial Stadium. Bleed Purple, go Texans, and remember, if you ain't Texan, you ain't